Hello everyone. Since this is either a highlight, a standalone book, or the first episode in a series, I'm jumping in to remind you what the rules are for this podcast. First rule is, no real people stories. That means that any details from our own lives are merely anecdotal, we do not read books about real people, and we are not reading historical fiction. The second rule is that we are basing our analyses off of how the author treats characters and what they put them through. We are not judging the accuracy of the trauma, the accuracy of any actual conditions that may be portrayed, nor the authenticity of a character's reaction to that trauma or that particular condition. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. The hosts are not trained professionals, and their opinions come solely from personal experience. In this episode, we discuss fictional depictions of trauma and violence that may not be suitable for all audiences. Please take care of yourselves. Specific content warnings for each episode can be found in the show notes. Events in the media are discussed in approximate order of escalation. This episode contains spoilers.
In this episode, we take a book-long elevator ride where a young man decides what fate awaits him. Will he stick to the rules or live to see another day? Hi, I'm Nicole.
And I'm Robin, and this fortnight we are discussing Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. Let's get into our factions. We have Will, Buck, Danny, Uncle Mark, Pop, who is also Mikey Holloman, Frick, Sean, Riggs, and Will's mom. For our first topic, we have Will's mom, with the topic being the death of family members. So this entire book is about a very particular set of traumas, and so the spoilers start immediately. The mom's husband, older son, and brother-in-law were all killed. I believe they were all killed by guns.
Yeah, all killed by gunshot.
By gunshot.
Most killed in, like, revenge-style killings.
Yeah. And, yeah, she's got... We get Will's perspective on his mom, and there's just, like, a lot of little things, like how she didn't go through her son's possessions after she died. To be clear, this is, like, not very long after he died, so in the story it's possible she just didn't have time yet.
Yeah.
We don't have a... I think it's a very short time frame. We either didn't really have a sense of it or it was explicitly a short time frame. I'm not totally sure.
I don't know that we ever got like a hard and fast, but there's definitely the implication of like this being a super recent emotional thing, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's a super recent time thing.
Right.
But
yeah. So she just husband, older son, and brother-in-law all gone. Her husband died when one son was 7 or 8 and the other was, I think, a baby. Like, the implication is that Will was too young to even remember his dad at all.
Yeah, like his memories of a father figure are his older brother taking care of him. Yeah.
Yeah. And his brother is a maximum of 8 years older than him, because that's how old the brother was when the father died. So in terms of the trauma as it relates to the mom and right now, and not as it relates to Will, we've got 2 parts of this. Did you have any particular thoughts on the deaths?
So I mean, we've kind of already walked a little bit through our first part. Like, all of these people that are super important to her are just part of this, like, and we'll talk about this as our third topic specifically, but they're part of this almost chain of murders. And it's just, it's like, it's kind of one of those things where we don't get anything from her perspective because the entire book is Will, and since it's poetry, we don't even get really like third person memories or whatever. Like, we don't get any of that that other books sometimes have. But we do you can kind of get this feeling of like that anticipation in the way the book is written of, well, when somebody dies, you know that somebody else is going after their killer. And so if your family member is the one who went after somebody else's killer, well, they're next. Like, that's just kind of how it works in this setup for this book. And
this is definitely speculation on our part, but it's completely reasonable to think that she would have it's reasonable to think that she would have an expectation that they're going to die next. We don't have her thoughts on it, and
yeah, like it's not necessarily like that cut and dried. It's not like you avenge someone, and so now you have like a literal target on your forehead. But if somebody thinks, and we do actually know this explicitly, this is not speculation. If somebody else thinks that you did it, it's now the rule in the neighborhood. Like, literally, like, there is a mantra that our main character has that is a set of rules. And one of those rules is that you do get revenge. Always. Every time. And so it's not something that I'm even speculating. Like, the book explicitly sets up, at least from the perspective of this child, to be fair. But the book explicitly sets up that no, if you avenge someone else, well, now their avenger is coming after you. And hey, maybe they get the wrong target and you live. But if you're the wife or the daughter or the sister or the mother of, because we're explicitly talking about his mom, that's why I'm specifying that gender. If you are this person to those people, and you know that this person who is important to you has avenged someone else, well, you kind of can assume that they're next, unless you get really lucky and the person coming after them gets the wrong target. And so she's just living this.
To be clear, when I said that it was speculation on our part, I meant just it is speculation that we can be pretty sure that she would be anticipating this, because...
Oh, if she knows the rules, she's absolutely anticipating it.
Right, just to the degree that we don't get her voice on it, that's the degree to which it's speculation.
It is speculation because we never hear from her directly, but, like, it is actually stated in the text. It's not book speculation, it's character speculation. Yeah.
Right. We don't know that she would have this in her head, but other people in the book definitely would, and it is completely reasonable to think that she would as well.
Well, I would argue that we do have pretty clear indication that she would have this in her head, because her older son and her younger son know the rules, and their father was dead, like you said, like, super early for both of them, and maybe, we don't even know if it was after the younger one was even born. So the father, even if he taught his older son the rules at 8, somebody had to reinforce that, and somebody else had to teach the younger son. Like, it is unreasonable to me to think that the mom would not have the same outlook here, because her youngest child does.
Right. Buck taught Sean the rules. That's in the text. Yeah.
Buck taught Sean the rules, but the idea that the mother would not be thinking along these lines, like, that does not seem like speculation to me. That seems like that doesn't seem internally consistent with the story. But I understand why you're saying, like, we just don't get her. Yeah, technically she doesn't come over and say, by the way, I also agree. But yeah.
All I was trying to say is that, technically we don't have her perspective. Yes. Yeah. And there's also a lot of, patriarchal stuff in the way the rules are passed down, and she probably knows them, but they're passed down to the men and the boys. I do not want to miss the second part of our topic, which is the effect that we explicitly know that all of this, to whatever degree that she is aware of it, she has eczema, And she scratches herself bloody. One of the quotes from after her son dies is, she'd been scratching all night, maybe trying to scratch the guilt away. The guilt that her son died because he died while he was going to the store for lotion for her eczema.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make it her fault. It does not make it her fault. But Will is interpreting it as his mom feeling guilty because her son, Sean, was at that place at that time to get something for her.
All right. Let's go on to topic 2.
Yeah, it's the thing is that it's both literally something that she's doing, and it's also very emblematic of the situation where it is physically she is tearing herself up from the stress of all of this. And I don't know, it implies a sense of helplessness, like she can't do anything about this. And stress is making it worse, and scratching is making it worse, and just everything is making this worse. And she can't do anything about the actual problem.
Okay. So our next topic is, what do we label this one? Oh, premeditation.
Premeditation of murder.
Of murder, yeah. This is specifically the premeditation part, which is a little bit different of a take.
Yeah, it's a little bit sideways to call the premeditation a trauma, but
it is.
It is, at the very least, it is the expression of a lifetime of related trauma honing into this very particular ideation and set of thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You could call it something else. We called it this.
Honestly, behind the scenes, peek behind the curtain for you all, we debated about the topic of this section for like 10 minutes. We
debated about whether to talk about this for longer than we will spend talking about it.
We also, and longer than it took us to write the notes. Like, we were like, what do we call this forever?
Now.
And this is the closest we came up with.
For the actual topic, he spends the entire book, he being Will, spends the entire book planning and contemplating killing Riggs. Riggs is the person whom Will believes killed his brother Sean at the start of the book.
So it's wild that we try very hard in our podcast to not just summarize and just list a bunch of stuff about the book every time. But with this particular book, it's really, really hard not to. Because that's really the whole book. The whole book is the connections and his intent to kill this person. And it's actually kind of a big deal that he only thinks this is the killer. Like, he has this internal monologue about how he's pretty sure, but what if he's wrong? And he keeps...
And the book leaves space for him to be wrong. And we'll get to that more in our next topic.
Yes.
But for now, it matters that, like, the whole structure of this book is that his brother has died, and now he went upstairs to get a gun at some indeterminate amount of time after his brother died. Went upstairs.
His brother's gun, I believe.
Yes, his brother's gun. He went upstairs to get his brother's gun. And in the 1-minute ride down the elevator, he is being visited by the ghosts of people who have died. We'll talk about them a little bit more in the next section.
I love this mechanic, can I just say?
It's really, really cool. And cool in, like, a ways to do a book sense.
It's cool in, like, a storytelling sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I realized cool isn't a great way to describe this.
It's interesting.
This is not... It is very well done. It's like, it's weirdly meditative, but also very, like, keyed up and anxious at the same time. It encourages you to think a lot, but you're thinking a lot about a very stressful thing. And Will is thinking a lot about a very stressful thing. He's having constant thoughts about, or repeated thoughts about the gun and how many bullets he has. And it is a gun that can hold 16 bullets between the chamber and all the gun things.
Robin's not a gun
bullets.
person. Spoiler alert.
I am not. Nope. It has 15 bullets in it because one round has already been fired. 15 bullets, and Will is 15 years old. And those two things
I thought it was 14.
Are mentioned separately. Is it 14 bullets?
I thought it was 14, one for every year of his... I might be wrong.
It's one for every year of his life, and I'm pretty sure it's 15. The notes have it as 15.
I don't remember at this point.
Let me check. 15 bullets. I consulted the internet.
Okay, cool.
Google says it's 15. Yeah, just double checking. Yeah, so 15 bullets because one had already been fired, and only one. And with this, he's thinking about how he thinks he needs to do this thing, but he's also scared, and he's both emotionally very convinced that this is the person who did it, and even more so that he needs to kill the person who killed his brother. But also, intellectually, he's having room to have doubt about whether or not Riggs actually did it. And that's a lot of cognitive dissonance, and this entire book is him trying to figure out this tension during this elevator ride. Like, it takes the 1 minute thing, like, very seriously, not in terms of, like, as you're actually flipping through the pages, most of them don't have a lot of individual text, but if you look at the timestamps along the top of the page, a lot of action happens in each very small stretch of time, and so it makes it feel very fast and also very, like, languid. It conveys through text the feeling of slow motion.
Like, it's like every second takes 10 years, but things never stop happening in those 10 years.
Yeah. So we're gonna touch more on this when we go to our next topic, like elements of this premeditation, but wanted to highlight it here because that he has all of this angst and anguish and thought and emotional energy going into, I need to do this, I'm supposed to do this, but I don't know if I should do this or if it'll be against the right person if I do. That is the premeditation. Any concluding thoughts for this?
I mean, really, like, those are kind of the highlights. And, like, I will say this, like, I really like, and I'm saying this now because in our third topic we have so much more to cover. I really love that we as an audience don't get a conclusion. We don't get to know whether or not he actually does it. And also, we don't know, independently of our main character, we actually don't know if Riggs did it. There's so much of, like, exposition in books where, in so many books, where, you know, the reader kind of relies on the author to say, like, hey, here's the conclusion. And, like, this book intentionally leaves that conclusion out. And it leaves you finishing this book with, like, this weird, like, edge of the cliff sensation.
Would you call it a cliffhanger? But there's never gonna...
I would not.
There's probably not gonna be a sequel.
I would not call it a cliffhanger, because you're not hanging. You haven't fallen yet, but you just don't know if you will. Mm-hmm. Actually.
Okay.
I like your pun, but... No, it's not a cliffhanger. It's just a weird, like... It's a weird lack of resolution that really, from, like, a reader perspective, it's a really good way. Like, this book does a very good job in an immersive sense of having the reader feel the feelings that this character is going through and care and even, because this text is presented as poetry, and even the way, like, visual poetry. So even, like, the way the words are on the page and the way things are set up and how your eyes have to move to read it and how it's, like, just everything about it is set up for you to feel in the moments in the book the way this character is feeling in the book. And the lack of a conclusion in the ending is such a good, solid finish to that. Because everything in this book is the premeditated part. There is no conclusion. There's no, I don't know, you want to call it satisfaction of knowing how it ends. Not satisfaction whether or not he commits the murder, but just like that satisfied feeling of, oh, I know where all the pieces are. We don't get that.
No.
We just don't.
We don't.
And so it's just a really interesting, really solid way of keeping you in that character and understanding his headspace and leaving it as poetry. And it's just really well done. But it is something where if endings that are nebulous in books bother you, this is the worst. This is the worst example of that. Deliberately so.
Worst as in it'll bother you the most? It's very well done. Yeah. Very well done. But if you need conclusion, oh boy, is this not the book for you. And here we've talked about it being poetry. I'm actually married to a poet. I want to be clear. This is not like most poetry. I think of this one less as poetry and more as a novel with all of the extraneous stuff stripped down so that all you have. Isn't all poetry just novels with all the extraneous stuff stripped down, Robin? Have you read Ava's poetry? If you had read Ava's poetry, I have read Ava's poetry. And I would argue that I would argue that Ava's poetry is still that, except instead of a novel, it's just it's art but words. Very stripped down. Well, that's true. That is how hers is. So anyway, it's definitely poetry rather than a normal novel. But if you are thinking, oh no, they just read a book of poems. If you're a poetry elitist who wants to read a poetry collection... This is not a poetry collection. That's not what this is. It's poetry format. Yes. It's not a single poem. It serves it very well. For the Cycle of Violence Revenge Edition, we have a list of mostly connected deaths. Danny was killed while playing on a playground, probably stray bullets from some killing that was happening. We don't know which one. Then, the rest of these are chronological. We have Uncle Mark, who was killed by someone who wanted his corner. We have his brother Mikey, who is Will's father, who tried to kill Mark's killer, killed the wrong guy, and then was killed by one of that person's friends. Then, some indeterminate number of deaths later, we have Buck, who is killed by Frick. Then we have Frick, who is killed by Sean. And then Sean, we don't know who killed him. Frick, who was killed by Sean. Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, yep. That's fine. Frick, who was killed by Sean, and then Sean was killed. And then Sean is killed by someone. Will thinks it was his former friend Riggs, probably because he was in the same gang that Frick was trying to get into, but we don't know that for sure. Yeah. The first main point we have for this is that Will's father was murdered for killing the man who killed his brother, that brother being Will's uncle. Will is too young to remember what happened. He has what his brother told him, which is what Buck told him, and so he's 2 steps removed from anyone who will tell him what happened. Mm-hmm. Probably the mom knows, but she's not saying if she does. And there's this lineage of revenge, this cycle of violence, as we were saying. Mm-hmm. And it's almost all male characters. The one female character, Danny, who dies, she dies because of someone else's violence. No one was taking revenge on her as like an 8-year-old on the playground. And there's a severe implication that she's just caught by a stray bullet for some reason. Yeah. Like it doesn't actually say, but like you get that perspective of like Will being too young of a child to really know what was happening. Mm-hmm. But yeah. And they were killed, they took revenge, and then they were killed in revenge for that, and now we're, over a decade later, and Will loses Sean, who was his father figure, since Will died when he was a baby. And that brings us to the rules. the rules that are driving this whole thing.
Well,
because Sean feels
I wouldn't say the rules are driving it, but the rules are
the structure,
a nicely codified breakdown of what is currently happening.
Yeah, the rules are the shape that codifies the individual impulse for revenge into a mandate that ensures that it is a cycle of violence and not just random incidents. And these rules are crying, don't, no matter what. Snitching, don't, no matter what. And revenge, do, no matter what.
Yeah, it's a very stark representation of an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. Mm-hmm. Except in this case, it's a life for a life. Eventually, everybody dies. Yeah, like that is really what is happening here, and explicitly, like that is what is happening because everyone is always like if everyone is avenging each other, then that's it, and they kind of hinted that in the text, or Will kind of hinted as he's thinking about it, but he doesn't think about it as a, oh no, this is a problem. He thinks about it as a, well, I guess it's my turn kind of a way. Like, right. Oh well.
And that's part of what lets there be the ambiguity that we discussed earlier, because we don't know if he decides to follow the rules or not. This whole ride down the elevator, this minute, this is his time deciding whether he is going to follow the rules. Just this 1 minute, and it'll determine whether he's one more person in the cycle or not. And also, because the world is not just these people, that at the very least their neighborhood and their community is more than this. Even if Will decides not to follow the rules this time, it doesn't mean that there's going to be no more violence. It just means that he decided not to continue
this one moment.
this one part of it.
Yeah, it's...
So normally we talk about books from the perspective that the author inflicted trauma on the characters, and that isn't right for this one. This is not... We want to be very clear about that, since that's normally how we approach books. This is an author depicting, in a very moving way, a kind of cycle that really happens. And it's not... We do not see this one as the author inflicting this upon these characters, but rather putting on the page.
I would actually like to go one step further.
Okay.
I don't, and I'm not saying this is the only way to interpret this book.
Okay.
And I have opinions about this that we'll get to in the wrap-up. But I actually think this is the author using the characters to inflict an understanding about this on the reader. Mm-hmm. An emotional understanding.
Right.
And it's a very effective way, like I kind of a little bit talked about this in topic 2. It's a very effective way of doing that. The reader, as a reader, you really like the poetry format, the kind of stripped down starkness of everything that's happening, the back and forth in Will's mind, the flashbacks that you get of different people and the memories and the ghosts and the everything that's in here. Does a very, very, very good job of having you as a reader kind of go through the emotions as Will is going through them. And I think that I would argue that in most books are set up for you as a reader to kind of walk beside the characters and watch them have a journey, right? That's how most books are. Of all genres. Even a lot of horror books.
Yeah.
You're supposed to sit there and watch the violence and go, oh no! And that's it. This is a book that feels like the point is for you to experience it.
Yeah. To get an understanding and an empathy. And it's walking a very fine line of saying, I want you to understand why someone would do this.
Yeah.
And why they shouldn't.
Yeah. It feels like a book where the point is, it doesn't matter if you're in that that mindset and you need to understand how to get out, or that you need out, I should say, not how, but that you need out, or if you just don't get it and you need to understand and empathize and be able to help somebody. Like, that's what this book feels like. It feels like it works both ways and that's intentional.
Yeah.
But it does mean that, like Robin said, it's not the author inflicting trauma on his characters. Instead, it's the characters pouring out their story in a way that is supposed to impact the reader. This is not a book that you're supposed to read for fun before you go to bed. This is not a book, this is not a horror book that you read for a thrill. Like, that's not what this is. And it's very well done. But also for our purposes, when we're talking about, like, impact on the reader and how the author treats their characters, this book, spoiler alert, is not going to get, like, a quote-unquote good rating in our scales. But that's intentional. This author is not going for a story that you're supposed to watch happen. You're supposed to experience this and then, like, understand it and get it.
And we say probably not getting a good rating on our scales. We mean if you consider a good rating to be with care and less stressful versions.
Well, to be fair, we talk about books doing a good job if they get, like... True. Like, it's consistent with the way we kind of view it.
But we want to be clear.
This is a wonderful book. This is a great book. It just... It is definitely a book where if somebody has trauma in any way, shape, or form related to gun violence, especially revenge killing gun violence, I would
or revenge
never
killing not done by guns.
Knives.
Because
strangulation.
Don't really want to list more ways that could happen, but yes.
I mean, I can give you some. There's way more poisoning of various types.
Our audience.
A lot of times revenges are poison.
So, there are many...
There's a lot, but specifically gun violence, because so much of Will's thoughts is, like, gun-focused.
Yep.
Like, if you have trauma from any of those things, I am not recommending this book to you.
But also, if you want one of your friends to understand it...
Well, not to understand gun violence, but to...
No. Perspective on the impact of a particular kind of gun violence. Yes, that is what I meant.
Yeah.
Looking for a new podcast? Check out the Infectious Groove podcast. My name is Russ, and I host the show along with Michelle and Kyle. Every Monday, the three of us bring you music news and tell you our jammy jams, so you'll always have new music to check out. The Infectious Groove podcast discusses music from nearly every decade and genre while openly displaying our passion for music you need to hear. On top of that, we have a thought-provoking main topic of discussion every week to get you thinking, discussing, and sharing music. We also include interviews with the music stars of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms. Subscribe and listen to the Infectious Groove podcast on your favorite podcast platform today.
For the wrap-up and ratings, for our first topic, Death of Family, what is the gratuity rating?
Oh, Lord.
It's technically off-screen and backstory. Technically.
Yes.
We want to be very clear, dear audience. It is technically off-screen and backstory, but in terms...
It's very present off-screen.
So, the main topic was Death of Family. I feel like we should mention that a very closely accompanying topic for this was self-harm. And the self-harm was off-screen.
Off-screen, but talked about pretty explicitly.
And moderate. I'd say it was a mix of off-screen and moderate, because we don't actually see it, but the description of it in a couple of places is pretty visceral.
Yeah.
So your mileage may vary. It's going to be somewhere between moderate and severe.
It personally makes me itch. Let's put it that way.
Yep. So the main topic, or the main part for this section, Death of Family, backstory and off-screen, with moderate elements.
I'm just putting all three. I think it's premeditation of murder. Severe.
Yep. Just straight up intense ideation. It's kind of the point of the book.
The only thing that keeps it off of torture porn levels is that you as a reader, the way it is described and the way you kind of experience it, it is definitely not advocating for it.
Yeah.
It would be super easy to take the actual, setup for this book and flip it to be torture porn with very little effort.
But it's not. We want to be very clear. It's not.
But it's not. It's deliberately not, but oh boy, is it a severe depiction of this thing.
It's specifically a lack of glorification of this topic.
Yes, but it's a very, very, very severe lack of glorification.
Yep. And for Cycle of Violence Revenge Edition, again, severe. With a specific move to remove glorification from this thing.
Yeah.
But integral...
Oh, man. I just, thinking about it, for both of those, really, I don't even think you'd have to change words. I think if you just deleted, a couple sentences every page or so, you would suddenly have torture porn on both topics.
Yep.
It's so precise how close it is. Mm-hmm. It's deliberately not crossing that line because that's the whole point, but it's so close.
Yep.
Why this trauma?
Is it integral, interchangeable, or irrelevant?
Integral.
Death of family is integral. Premeditation of murder is integral, and Cycle of Violence Revenge is integral. This is
a very bare bones book.
It has everything it needs, and very literally nothing else. Skipped.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. This is a super, it's very emotionally raw and story stripped down to, bare bone components. And it has there's nothing about this book that isn't integral to its experience.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that also does mean that from a reader trauma perspective, there's no way to not get hit by the severity of these topics and the severity in how they're depicted.
Yeah, not a lot of cushion.
There's nothing you can skip. There's nothing you can, read really quickly and move on. There's none of that.
Yeah. For trauma being treated with care, I...
Deliberately not.
Yes, deliberately not. It's weird because usually we think of care as how much intentionality did they put into depicting the trauma. There's some overlap with that concept. Here, it's...
We have a couple of different definitions for care, and which one we use kind of depends on the book and the book's goal and purpose.
And for this, we want to be clear, it's very, very intentional, and it is intentionally not filled with emotional care.
Yeah.
The point is for you to understand how...
The point is for you to feel it, and you can't feel it. The point is for these topics to be severe, and for you as a reader to go through them as a severe topic. And if these topics were treated with any care in our grading system at all, this book would be kind of pointless. It wouldn't be enough of an emotional impact to matter, but instead, it's not treated with care because the whole point is that you as a reader are directly in that emotional storm and you are experiencing it.
This is a book about gun violence. Please take care of yourselves. If that's not something you're ready to do right now, then maybe skip this.
It's a book about gun violence, deliberate murder, and revenge.
Very well done. Yeah.
Yeah. And uncertainty.
For the point of view of the trauma and the aftermath, it's all Will, but we hear, because of the style, Will's the only one where we get inside his head, but we do have... The whole point of this book is that we get spoken to Will, the perspective of these other people, and that makes this one a little bit more complicated to talk about for point of view, because in one sense, it's Will's perspective for his current trauma, but we're also getting these other people's perspective on the aftermath of their own trauma.
It has a very much of a... It has a oh man, my brain is telling me Mr. Scrooge. What's the actual name of that story? What? That character?
Oh, Christmas Carol.
Christmas
and it
Carol.
Is Scrooge.
Thank you. Well, they did a Scrooge version.
They
right?
No, Scrooge is his name. That Scrooge McDuck is the character that... Yeah, it's Ebenezer Scrooge.
Oh, Ebenezer Scrooge. Okay, Ebenezer Scrooge. It has a very Ebenezer Scrooge, flashback to, other people and their experiences and you experiencing their experiences with them feel. Except instead of trying to convince a miserly hoarder to benefit other people with his wealth, it's about experiencing their death and their motivations. So, but it very much has that, like, Christmas Carol going back and being in that thing as it's being told to you kind of a feel, is what the comparison I'm going for here.
Looking at the past to try and change his future while also talking a lot about the present. Like, it has some of those bones.
Yes. Yeah, it has that feel of it. That, like, overlapping, cycling memory with present thing. No. Just that the way the ghosts work is very much the same way that the ghosts work in A Christmas Carol. And it has a similar storytelling, storytelling feel. Not story feel, but like storytelling feel.
Okay, I see how you get there. I really think the elevator was an excellent storytelling device. It was so good.
Oh, I think the elevator was great. I love the elevator. Is such a man. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to ruin this book for anybody. I don't want them to go in anticipating.
All right, oh, that's right. This is the spoiler-free section. For the aspiring writer tip, what do you have?
Oof. So this book. If this book was a novel that you are meant to experience as somebody else's story that's just you're kind of watching or going along for the adventure as they save the world, or for the horror as they get in the horror book as they get trapped or deal with ghosts or whatever, this would actually be rated kind of low on our, like, is this a good book? Did this handle things well kind of meters? However, this book has a very intentional goal. It comes across incredibly strongly. And if I am talking to somebody about this book, I'm not going to recommend it to them unless I know that it's going to be, like, recommending this book is going to come with kind of, not spoilers, but it's going to come with kind of some pretty heavy, like, hey, if this kind of a thing bothers you, then this isn't really a good book for you. Because it's going to be traumatizing to read for a lot of people for several different reasons. There's multiple reasons why the sheer amount of immersion that as an audience member you kind of get in this book could be far too much. This is kind of a rare book where, like, I'm not going to just say it's not a good book. Like, there's some books where I'm going to look at and go, no, those objectively have some pretty awful stuff that the book is advocating for. Like, I don't recommend that book. And that's not true. I highly recommend this book.
Yeah. But
this book would come from me with some pretty solid, pretty heavy-handed kind of warnings about it, because if you're somebody who needs all of the plot threads kind of closed off, especially because there are people I know personally like this. Like, this is a real thing people experience, especially if it gives you anxiety when they're not. Don't open this book. Don't even start it. It will be painful. If you're somebody who has trauma from gun violence or from revenge killings in your past, don't read this book. It's going to hurt a lot. It's probably going to reopen some things. It's so good and it's so immersive.
Or at least be in an otherwise stable place before you do.
I mean, even for that matter, like, it's such a tiny portion of this book, but kind of mentioned, like, there's some self-harm in here. It's barely even there. It's only there for, like, what, a couple pages or something? And the way the book is written in the poetry format, a couple pages is, like, almost no text at all. And, I mean, I think I don't remember if I said this here in the wrap-up or if I said this in the topic itself, but reading it makes my arms itch. It's barely there, barely brushes it. And it's too much.
Yeah.
So it's a very good book. If you can handle it, highly recommend it.
So if you were to condense all that...
But if you start it and it hurts, back out.
If you were to condense all that to a writer tip...
A writer tip is that it's okay to... I guess that it's okay to inflict trauma on your readers if you have a point to doing it. Don't do it randomly. But, like, you know, it's not always a bad thing.
it is okay for books to stress out readers, and that can be done on purpose for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
Horror is an entire genre meant for that.
That's true.
But please be intentional.
Yeah, please don't just be careless.
Yeah.
Like, this book is very intentional, but if this book was careless about it...
It'd be so bad. Yeah. Favorite non-traumatic thing about the book?
Was
there anything?
Nope.
I do actually have one thing.
I don't think there was anything.
I actually have one thing.
Okay.
Like, it's bittersweet, but the interaction with Danny before he figures out who she is, was just really sweet. And even after he figures out who she is, it's a different kind of bittersweet.
I would argue that is not non-traumatic, but it's probably as close as you're gonna get.
It is as close as you're gonna get. It is a bright spot.
Is it
in
though?
here, it's a brighter spot in a very dark book.
It's a dim spot in a dark book.
Yeah,
we're not kidding. This is not exaggerating at all.
Yeah, I still...
This is maybe a little bit under emphasizing.
Yeah. It is hard to find something non-traumatic in this book, but of the things, that first bit of the interaction, and then also just, I don't know, like, it was not quite non-traumatic, but mostly, like, interesting, is just the way it tracks the density of cigarette smoke in the elevator.
Oh, yeah.
At all times, constantly. It's a weird way to have a connecting thread in a narrative, and it is not the only connecting thread, I want to be clear about that, but it was an interesting connecting thread to have, was carefully gauging the amount of cigarette smoke and what people are or are not doing vis-a-vis smoking cigarettes in this elevator. So, that's a thing. Do you have one? If you don't have one, then...
Okay, I have one, but it is not the story.
Okay.
I actually, as much as a format, it is genuinely hard for my brain to stay invested in long enough to read a lot of this. There's a whole... Robin and I have talked about this before we started recording, and, like, there's people in my life that know this about, but, like, there's certain formats, styles of storytelling that my brain just has a hard time focusing on. I don't really read most comics. I can't really focus on manga. I love a lot of different anime. I read type-dense books because I like it, but I get very, very bored. Like, my brain just kind of wanders off with certain things, and this particular, like, poetry style book is one of those things. But looking at it from a visually artistic point of view, the way that the pages are set up is very incredibly well done, and it's really interesting to look at. Like, looking at the way and place and spacing and how he, like, chooses where different words are going to be and which words are going to be there, and, like, even word choice where there's multiple sentences or multiple ways that a sentence could be phrased, but he'll change which sentence phrasing he uses depending on the picture he's trying to paint on the page, and it's just really cool as, like, a visual art side, which I realize is not, like, the book itself. But this is not something that, like, you know, this isn't like a publisher decision. This is the art of the book. So,
yeah,
I think it counts.
Is this...
I think that's it.
A good time to say who recommended this book to us, or are you putting that in elsewhere?
This is good.
Okay. So, want to thank the very helpful librarian from Worthington, Ohio, who recommended this to me back in December of 2019 when we were able to go into libraries. But yeah. Very helpful librarian from Worthington, Ohio. I'm so sorry I didn't get your name, but thank you so much for helping me, and we did end up talking about it on the podcast.
This month, we would like to welcome our new supporter on Patreon, Jeff Richardson. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and if you would like to join Jeff in supporting our show, check us out on Patreon/BooksThatBurn. Thank you so much.
All music used in this podcast was created by Nicole as HeartBeatArt Co. and is used with permission.
You can follow us on Twitter at Books That Burn, all one word.
You can email us with questions, comments, or book recommendations at booksthatburn@yahoo.com.
Support us on patreon.com/booksthatburn. All patrons get access to our upcoming book list and receive a one-time shout-out.
You can leave us an iTunes review. This helps people to find the show.
And find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks.